Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Morning, everybody. Morning, Mike. And first item on the list is saying goodbye to Wayne Campbell.
Yeah, it's just a couple of days. Sadly, well, first of all, welcome to Talking Niagara, everyone.
Yep.
And sadly, Wayne Campbell died just a couple of days after resigning. He succumbed to prostate cancer, evidently. So goodbye.
One of the biggest killers in North America, unfortunately.
Yes, I actually have a friend that's probably won't make the year. I found out recently. So
Prostate cancer.
Anyway, yeah.
And just also to say, okay.
Anyway, I'd like to
Gary will be missed, and same Mike Cushman. All right. So reflection of those to everybody. All right. Anything else?
Well, I would like to make a little announcement that last night I was at the Area L52 Toastmaster contest, and a member of my club destroyed the opposition in the international speech contest, and we'll be moving on to Division L contest now. And so congratulations to Vivian Little for that.
Yeah.
And we might as well, right now, big congratulations to Wayne Gates.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say we need to be looking at
annihilating. Yeah.
We need to be looking at these election results, and basically, yes, exactly. So at the moment, it looks like at the moment we're looking at, they've got 75 seats for PC, 25 for NDP, and 13 for Liberal. It's expected to be 80, 27, and 14 when the results are all said and done, because there's a couple of seats. There's basically Muskogee, James Bay, where the NDP lead by 4. There's a number of seats in here. Mississauga, Erin Mills, the Conservatives lead by 20. Burlington, they lead by 40. Sault Ste. Marie, they lead by 118. Eglinton, Lawrence by 167. York Southwest by 144. And Humber River, Black Creek, the NDP lead by 198. And in Ajax, the Liberals lead by 331. So we've not yet called those what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 elections.
Ridings.
8 ridings, right? But they've called everywhere else.
Well, it's very clear, though, that it's very, very clear that the Conservatives have won an incredible majority. Yeah. By the time it's all said and done, they got 2 votes for any 1 vote that the entire opposition parties got.
Yeah,
they will go into Parliament with 2/3 majority, and they just crushed the opposition. No victory has been this big since the 50s. So big congratulations to Doug Ford. He seems to be very politically astute. He made this gamble, snap elections, which people don't particularly like sometimes, in the middle of winter, and it paid off dividends.
Yeah, and just for the record, in Niagara Falls, NDP Wayne Gates got 55% of the vote at 29,000. Ruth Ann Norris for PC got 18,500 at 34.5% of the vote, and everybody else was kind of low. Jody Burdett got 263, propping up everybody else. There you go, as an independent.
All well, right. This was I want to know, you said a few days ago that you saw a poll, or you were aware of a poll that said that it was going to be a close call in
Yeah,
Niagara.
yeah,
It wasn't a close call.
it
Where
wasn't.
did
No.
you see that poll?
Well, this was something that I saw, and and hey, you know what it was? What I have to apologize to everybody for is that I think I got sucked up by one of these things that somebody published on Facebook, one of these mistruths. You know, I was talking about this
That
poll.
wasn't true.
Yeah, I was talking about this poll with the Liberals. And I was saying for weeks, I'd seen this poll that was saying that the Liberals were in the lead at the national polls if Carney was elected. Well, we won't know that until March the 9th. But Carney, by all accounts, seemingly in the lead of the Liberal.
No, I'm talking about the poll for Wayne Gates.
No,
You
I don't
said
know.
you saw a poll.
I saw a poll, but I didn't verify. I couldn't verify it. Yeah. All right.
Well,
And
the poll I'm talking about is the one it was very clear that Wayne Gates was going to win until I heard from you that this poll said that it was going to be it could be a close race.
Yeah, I think it was something put out by the Conservatives. Maybe it was a private poll that we didn't get to see the results of,
or a made up one.
That's
obviously, even the bad polls.
Okay, so in that regard, okay, so he won by 10,000, at least 10,000 votes. In St. Catharines, Jenny Stevens won by 3,000 votes, so she got 42% of the vote. Much closer race versus South Sorrento there. And in Niagara Center, Jeff Birch won by 2,000 votes, so a much closer race even there. But again, the incumbents kept the victory. And congratulations to Angela Brown in Niagara Center for getting 129 votes. There you go.
Well, yeah, congratulations there, but big congratulations to Wayne Gates. And I don't know where that poll came from that said that it was a horse race, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Wayne Gates probably made his biggest victory of ever and absolutely destroyed Ruth Ann Newesteg. And in a province that was shifting right and in a blue wave, she got completely wiped out.
You know what can happen?
Even close, not even moderately close. He won by twice the votes that he beat Bob Gale with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's for sure. Bob Gale was a much tougher contestant.
Yeah.
You know,
that's I don't know where all this baloney came from that Ruth Ann Newesteg had a chance in this, and you know, I originally thought Wayne Gates would win decisively, but then I heard about this poll you were talking about, and I thought, oh, well, things are changing, but it didn't change at all. So there you go with your damn polls, because they can be so misleading, and yeah, so this is that kind of bums me out that we're reporting here on this show that it could be a close race, and we kind of conned by some poll.
Yeah. And none of these actually, you know, as I said, St. Catharines was 3,000, and Niagara Center was 2,000, so 2,500. So I suppose those were much closer races than Niagara Falls was at 11,000.
Yeah, Wayne crushed Luann Newesteg, and like pretty much all the incumbents stayed where they were. But
in our area anyway. The change
now you know why Diodati didn't enter the race, because he wouldn't have entered it unless he had a clear chance of victory.
He would have had a greater chance than Newesteg, that's for sure. I believe.
but it wouldn't.
But again, it wouldn't have been a clear victory.
Maybe not. But
Yeah.
anyway, the Wayne Gates has done was now is how many elections he's won now? 3 or something like that in a
This is
row.
his third. Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely. The other one to note is Bobby Ann Brady secured Holderman Norfolk as an independent candidate, and as an independent candidate who wasn't previously a member of the provincial parliament for one of the parties. So she stood and won as an independent.
Well, good for her. Good
Yeah.
for her. And congratulations, too, for a couple of Green Party. I think there's 4 Green Party candidates won.
4, was it? Is it 4? No, it's 2 Green.
2 Green. Okay. 2 Green. Oh, it was 4 something percentage of the vote. That was it.
4.8% of the vote, 242,000 people. That's actually an improvement, isn't it, over last time? They were projected at one point at 9 a.m. They were projected to have won a third seat.
Well, they may come in, and a surprise to me, even though the Conservatives just completely destroyed the opposition throughout in Ontario. It was a surprise to me that the NDP are the official opposition that maintained that.
I'm not in the least bit surprised, to be quite honest, that they maintained that.
I thought, well, let me put it this way: maybe not surprised that they maintained it, but surprised that the Liberals didn't do better than they did. The Liberals did pathetically, and what you have here is that divide that's happening everywhere in politics, where you go all the way right or all the way left, and and those middle parties are getting less and less of the vote.
I'm interested to know, because it will have an impact upon and I can't find it. I don't know the geographical location of this particular one. I want to know about Toronto St. Paul. Which way did that go?
Oh, I probably went Conservative, but I can't.
It probably did, but I can't. I'm not seeing it under the red. Oh, Toronto St. Paul went back to is a Liberal.
Oh,
right.
So they are Conservative federally and Liberal provincially.
Well, the only reason I'm, of course, pointing that out is, of course, because the Conservatives won that dramatically in a by-election, didn't they, at the federal level? And I'm just wondering, the question is, would Toronto St. Paul be, traditionally a Liberal seat? Would it be returning to the Liberals under the under the new federal regime? Will it return on that election? And furthermore, a question might well be is, will Mark Carney maybe stand there?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
yeah,
look, if you want to talk about the federal, the federal, the federal thing is changing quite a bit. It's very, very clear that the Liberals are getting a lot more popularity since Trudeau left.
Yeah.
And that Carney is most likely going to be the next leader, and that they are riding a wave. And Pierre Poilievre's
suffering
character, he came to prominence because of his he jumped on a very unpopular leader, JT, and did all kinds of character assassinations on him. But then he was left with nothing left to talk about. And as soon as the Liberals came in and took away his talking points by getting rid of the carbon tax, or claiming that's what they're going to do, and getting rid of the tax, the new tax, the what was the tax that went up to 66%? They're going to get rid of that. And so they took away all his talking points, and all Pierre Poilievre's got left is nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
And he's really sticking his foot in his mouth because he's taking on what appears to be Trump talking points. When Trump says America first, he says Canada first. And that's not going over too well because it sounds like he's just copying Trump talking points. So he's really, really stuck now because he and his party aimed at JT all of the time and character assassinations and all that. And now he's getting to talk about, and his opponents in the liberal side seem to have more confidence from the voters. I don't believe that. I think he'll, if we had an election, he'd win in a minority government at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So 43% turnout. More more people not voting than voting. Right?
No, it was 44. It was nearly 45%.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. So you were right on that one. You were right on that one.
Yeah, it was 44.5% of the vote.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that you were right. I was fearful that it was just going to drop.
Your big mistake was to question even that I was right.
Right. If more people do not vote than vote, should it be a legitimate vote? And Mike asks that question every time, and I do, I do have that as a very good question. Angela asked a question the other day about what if nobody bothers to show up except for the candidates. So they all finish, all four candidates in an election get one vote apiece.
Well, it happened.
One of the candidates has a big family and gets 5 votes instead of 1 vote each.
Well, I think it happened in New Brunswick. It was one of the eastern provinces. I think it was New Brunswick. I know about 30 years ago or so. They won every seat in their parliament.
Okay, so a few note things here. Bonnie Crombie didn't get elected in her own riding. Yep, absolutely. So that's a significant thing. I was going to say that. Ruth Ann had no platform, says Gary Wilkins. Ruth Ann had a platform, rubber stamp everything, which is what Mike is referring to is what she does on city council, basically.
Well, let me be clear about this. Like her decision not to get involved in the debate
was wrong.
I think that particular decision sunk her right away.
Yep,
absolutely. That took away any chance she had.
No, and with somebody like Ruth Ann Neuresteg, being involved in something like in a debate is an important thing because she needs that edge over. She needs an edge over Gates.
Yeah, she needed to go into that debate and show herself and acquaint herself with the electorate, but she refused to. That did not work. That strategy did not work here in Niagara Falls. And I bet if she had gone to the debate, she still would have lost, but she would have got more votes, I believe. I think that was irksome to the people of Niagara Falls. That's the very first thing everybody I talked to about it said that was a mistake. And I believe that.
Well, one thing Chris Regas is here, he's arguing with both you and I. He's saying there's plenty of talking points, and Pierre Poilievre is still way up on the polls.
He's still up on the polls. He's still up on the polls, but the gap has closed considerably. And I don't think Poilievre really has to change his take here. He's been he's not like Doug Ford. If you saw Doug Ford last night in his acceptance speech, his victory speech last night, he spoke like he got more respect for me in that one speech than he has all of his other political maneuverings. In that speech, he reached out to all the other two leaders, Crombie and Stiles, and he said, "Thank you so much for putting yourself out there to vote. It's very important that we have people stepping up and coming to an election." He was very, very good that way. He was extremely respectful to his opposition people and told everybody it doesn't matter what party you belong to. If you go out and put yourself out there for election that is away from all the talking points we've seen so far in the states and for the right in the states and Canada too, where it's like those are the bad guys over there. They are the bad guys. They're the ones that are destroying this country, kind of thing. And Poilievre's got to stay away from that kind of rhetoric going forward. He's got to be more now of a politician that talks about policy rather than tries to do character assassination. Carbon tax Carney won't work. That will not work.
Yeah.
JT was an unpopular leader after 9 years, but Mark Carney is an unknown, and that kind of character assassination will not work. He has to be a real politician. He has to be like Doug Ford, basically, if he wants to win Canada. He's going to have to take a page out of what Doug Ford has done and the talking points Doug Ford has used.
Okay, so Chris Regis is basically saying Poilievre's polling at 43%, right? Okay, and there's one other comment here by Gary. I'm glad the election is over. Hopefully Monday we can get back to normal things.
Yes, and again, big congratulations to Doug Ford on his supermajority, and huge congratulations for our hometown guy Wayne Gates, whose victory was unambiguous, to say the least.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. One story we didn't get to yesterday is Trump still wants the XL pipeline built now.
He's a very confusing guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He really is a distractor. He talks about Canada. We don't need their oil, he said. We don't. Not long ago, we don't need their oil. We don't need their oil. We got lots of our own oil. We don't need any of their oil. And now he wants the XL pipeline fixed and done right now. But where is he, this guy? He's very amusing in a way, except that he upsets so many people. But I'm laughing every time he opens his mouth now, because the distraction type of politics he uses is not working as well as it did in the early days. So he threatens, then he takes away the threat, then he says we don't want their oil. Now we want even more of it with the XL pipeline, but we didn't want it just 2 weeks ago because we got all our own. We don't need their cars. We don't need this. We don't need that. So, but this is really, really the thing that I don't know. He's saying we don't need any of their oil. We got all kinds of oil. Drill, baby, drill, drill, drill. He's got other sources in which to get the oil from. And yet he wants now the XL pipeline from Canada into the United States right now.
Yeah.
It's very, very, I don't know. It even sounds childish.
Yeah. And
it's a childish thing, like he did when he changed the Gulf of Mexico, that had been the Gulf of Mexico for 450 years. And both Mexico and the United States have really long, nearly the same exact amount of coastline on the Gulf of Mexico. And he changed that. And what was that? That was a petty, kind of like a stuff in your eye kind of approach to Mexico. That's just childish. And this guy, I don't know, he's going back to his childhood where he was a spoiled little kid.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, again, if you want the XL pipeline in, you've got to be negotiating, and tariffs come into that negotiation.
Look, I agree with him I agree with the idea the XL pipeline should be built.
Yeah,
we should exploit our resources at the best. the United States needs that oil. We can provide it, and all those infringements from Biden, and I'm an environmentalist. Like I'm big on environment, but it's dumb not to take advantage of a market for oil that's going to exist for another 20, 30 years minimum. And if we do not exploit that market, what are we doing? And the Trump or Biden nixed the XL pipeline. Trudeau and the Liberals have been so wishy-washy on stuff like that that I celebrate that idea that we should get our oil to market while there is a market for oil.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And the XL pipeline is one of the best means we've got of doing that.
If we don't sell it to them, the Saudis will, or the Venezuelans will, or the Nigerians will. So come on.
Yeah, exactly. No question about that one. We need to get that one moving, and that's got to be an angle for getting rid of tariffs.
Well, it's hard to say. Like, it's really hard to say what Trump is doing with this tariff thing. I think he just throws this stuff out there and sees what's going to happen, and then just follows the reaction the best he can. The tariffs, obviously, any energy tariff, the 10% on Canadian oil is going to eventually make gas prices more expensive in the United States. So you might be using the USMCA is coming up for renegotiation next year. A lot of the so-called pundits are saying that Trump is just using this to get a better deal later on by putting threats on, but it's actually illegal because he's going against his own deal, the best deal ever made. If you remember, he negotiated the USMCA, said it was the best deal ever the world had ever seen on trade, and now he doesn't like it. And says that whoever made these deals, whoever signed this, he says, well, you were the one that signed it. So I don't know. He's just jumping all over the map here, and strictly speaking, I've heard that these tariffs that he's imposing are actually illegal according to the terms of the treaty that we signed. Now, of course, he's doing it all for supposedly the security of the nation, et cetera, et cetera. But when you have less than 1% of the fentanyl coming over the border, and a tiny percentage of the immigrants coming from Canadian side into the United States, or refugees, or whatever you want to call them, and that was too much. I agree, that's too much, because a tiny amount of fentanyl is deadly. Even 40 pounds, the amount that came from Canada. So we strengthened our border, and I kind of thank him for doing that, for shaking us up a bit and making us aware of something we should have been doing. It was on the back burner for the Liberal government, which annoys me. Another thing I can thank him for, in a kind of a way, is we're going to pay more attention to our defense and get our payments up to NATO at least by up to 2%, which we should have been doing a long time ago. Even the Harper government, ironically, was only 1%, and this is something, a wake-up call, and we should have been taking on our own.
It should have been done. It should have been done years ago. The 2% should have been done a long time ago. Yeah.
So there are things we could thank him for, even though he didn't mean to help us out at all. But those are things that he's shaken up a dismal Liberal government from looking the other way. He's also, ironically, we're getting rid of all kinds of our immigrants, the illegals. They're being tossed out at a higher rate than ever before. But that might be more because the Canadian public is fed up and there's elections coming.
Yeah, that's possible. Okay, moving on. A motel on Lundy's Lane will provide much needed bachelor apartments in the city. So this is a unit at where was it? Yeah, okay, 7701 Lundy's Lane, and there was a public meeting at the council this week.
Yeah, that's been coming. Paul and I reviewed this in the last council meeting last month. I wasn't able to be there this month for the council meeting. Paul didn't need me anyway, but like I said, I'm just kind of like a color commentator, somebody to keep him company. He's like a terrier with a dog, or a dog like a terrier with a bone. He's just gnaws right into this. But this is a very good thing that the city is looking to do, and that is to create a lot of single room dwellings out of the old hotels. That's a very good use of those hotels at a time when we find stressors on all of us. When somebody like these rooms are going to go for $730 a month. Now, somebody working a minimum wage job could probably hold on to that and make payments and have a place to stay. So this is a very good thing, because we don't want those people in the lower income areas to then be pushed onto the road.
Yeah.
You have to have a place to live, and you can't do that nowadays. Niagara Falls on the money that you can make on minimum wage here.
Yeah, and essentially what we've got here is 96 total of 96 dwelling units, 6-story, 42 apartments. So I'm not entirely sure what's the breakdown of bachelors to others.
Well, they're also going to put on market value units of $1,200 each, which is still within reach of somebody who has a low-paying job.
Yeah,
even a couple could live there and maintain, at least have a place of their own and feel security. That the big threat among a lot of people is they're having a hard time making rent. And if we were to believe the stats that came out of Fort Erie a little while ago, that 40% of the renters in Fort Erie were stressed, or at the point where they were almost unable to afford their rents with their income. Presumably some of these evictions from our country will reduce some of that need, will reduce some of the pressure on housing, if the government really does get its act together and get rid of students that shouldn't be here and refugees that shouldn't be here. That will reduce the demand for housing, but they better do a thorough job. What they're doing now is just so piecemeal, even though they're...
And just so that everybody's aware, this is the unit that is currently the Travel Lodge. I believe it used to be. Well, I don't know. It's been under so many names. It's the unit that is on the corner of Lundy's Lane and Beaver Dams.
Yes, not far west from Montrose Road.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
just outside Montrose Road.
Yeah. It's a nice hotel. My club used to have dinners there in the small kitchen they had there, and small restaurant. So we used to have dinners there, and Marcel Dion came to talk to us one time. It was pretty cool. But then
it's a place that actually has ample room. So they're looking at 40 odd units. Yeah,
they're going to do quite a good job. 25% of them are going over to the single.
And there's parking there, right?
Yeah,
it's an important point, but there is parking there.
Yeah, because it had to have had, because it was a hotel at one time, and it still is. Part of it still is. I'm not so sure about that, but at least at least 25% of them are going over to these single family rooms, which they kind of called a boarding house. They've kind of taken away that sort of moniker to it because it doesn't fit exactly anymore. So single room occupancies. Anyway, it's a very good thing for Niagara Falls, particularly when we have so much of our population struggling. And we do not make a whole lot of money in this region comparatively, and particularly when we are being swamped with people coming from the GTA, coming here and moving here, who have more money, and it's pushing up the cost for everybody. And what does Betty Ann say? Betty Zoom says,
she said, could it be used as a homeless shelter since you don't have a place yet?
Not a good idea, Betty.
Not a good idea. Not that one. No,
not that one. No. If you have a mixed homeless and you have a mixed bachelor, you're just asking for trouble. See how much trouble we've already had with the homeless shelter areas that we have on Summer Street and Buchanan Street, where we're trying to take people and transition them into housing from the street, and it's not working out so well as being widely reported, where you have very bad behavior and the neighborhood's very much compromised this way. So it wouldn't be a good idea to put that there. What you want is stable people who have some sort of stable income, but are poor. What you want there is the working poor, basically.
Yeah.
So they have a dignity, their own particular dignity. They can pay for a room. They have a place, and they don't have to feel the daily pressure of wondering if they're going to have a place to stay. And they can then go off to work. And that's what I would like to see. There's lots of low-end jobs, but where are you going to work? Where are you going to stay if you don't, if you work at a grocery store in the tourist industry or something, you're not going to get a whole lot of money. But what you do want, you want the dignity of having a place where you can call your own.
Okay, so this is going to be discussed fully at the March 13th council meeting. And I'm actually convinced this is a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's it's pretty much if you were to take council, Lori Lococo spoke that this is very well needed. This is something that council has been looking at for probably, I think it came up last year and it was discussed. But they did not have the regulatory the rules basically in place. It looks like that's what they're going to do. Make sure that they have some sort of rules around these single family dwelling or single person dwellings or single room dwellings. Pardon me.
Single room dwellings, yes.
So I expect that it'll go ahead because the need is there.
Absolutely, the need is there. Yeah. All right, moving on. Congo is offering US Europe minerals in exchange for peace. That's an interesting concept.
Well, they jumped on the bandwagon, don't you think? Because the United States under Trump has made a deal basically to extract a large amount of critical minerals that the Ukraine has.
Yeah.
For guarantees of security. Well, let's hope they will guarantee the security of the Ukraine. It's a very right now that details of that deal are not really firm in the public eye, at least. It appears that the United States will extract the minerals as payment for the amount of munitions that it will supply to the Ukraine and have some level of its security. It's very, very I don't know. It's kind of very strange at this particular point because Putin still has ideas of having more.
Sorry, we're talking about Congo here.
I know,
Yeah.
but I related it.
Okay.
The Congolese have jumped on the idea that the West can offer it security, and for
Ah,
that security, the Congolese will allow them to mine minerals. Now, the big problem here is the Rwanda and the M23 rebels coming in from Rwanda have captured a lot of the Congo's mineral wealth,
yeah,
taking it to Rwanda where that mineral wealth does not exist and selling it. They're selling it to the Europeans and they're selling it to the Americans and others. So what they've done is they've taken Congolese mining products and taken them in the far east of the problems country, taking them to Rwanda and sell them. Those are stolen minerals. And what the Congolese are saying here is, look, if you can guarantee our security, we will give you a special deal on these minerals.
yeah,
You come
yeah.
in and do like you're saying you're going to do it in Ukraine.
I have to say
Offer security, and we will pay you back in minerals.
yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, yeah, okay. And because they're looking at on the back of what Ukraine is currently negotiating, that they're looking that they can get additional security and stop having their minerals stolen.
Yeah, as we've reported here on this show, I think we did. I'm not sure. We did last year, and I had an article posted up here before. The Tutsi dominated government of
Yeah, we
Rwanda
talked about it. Yeah,
and to a lesser extent Burundi have invaded in using support of the M23 rebels, who are fundamentally Tutsis. So it's a tribal thing as well. Have encroached upon the mineral rich western part or eastern part of the Congo Republic. The Congolese are having a whole lot of trouble because it's not just the M23, it's a couple of other criminal. There are criminal organizations that are also invaded. It's almost like a kind of a criminal army coming in from this one particular from are just taking advantage of the confusion there, and they are also getting involved in the minerals, the mineral rich area of eastern Congo. So the Congolese are strapped. Their army is taxed to the limit. It's a back and forth battle, and so they're fighting a criminal group. I forget the name of it, and M23 rebels, and losing their mineral wealth. And basically, they saw uh, the offer given to Ukraine, minerals for security, basically, and they're saying, look, we got lots of minerals. We'll give you preferential treatment, just like Ukraine, kind of the idea, if you come in and help us with our security, because we just
yep,
and also they were embarrassing the United States and the EU, particularly the EU, because the EU has bought uh, 930 billion, nearly $1 trillion of minerals from Rwanda that came from Congo.
yeah,
So the EU
yeah.
has negotiated deals with Rwanda for the stolen mineral wealth of the Congo.
Yeah, the interesting thing is about this is there seem to be like almost individual mines, if you like, where people are scratching the surface to get this stuff.
Well, they use and once they take over, then they use near slave labor and child labor to extract the minerals. We've seen this, and that's even in the more secure parts of Congo as well. We see this over and over again. We're buying cobalt from Congo, and yet we cannot mine cobalt at the same rate because they're using near slave labor to do it,
Yeah.
particularly child labor. And so any real cobalt mine in the West could never compete with the kind of prices
Well,
they get.
because what's seemingly happening here is you've got a a slot that's, you've got a chunk in the ground, let's say 20 foot by 10 foot, where they're kind of digging a hole and just, it's like the laborers are in there digging a hole, digging this.
Most of it's open pit.
Yeah, exactly. Open pit and moving, expanding, that open pit.
Yeah, they are unprofessional miners. The children get hurt. I saw this when I was in Ghana, when the Galamsey miners, they were the illegal miners in Ghana. I went right into their area. They're not shy about anything. Some miners took me there to watch from a real mine to show me how the Galamsey miners do their thing. They in a 10-mile radius, five people die. 5 of those miners die every week. From cave-ins or drownings or something like that. So you get the idea. It was probably even worse in the Congo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So these are not brilliant conditions, even in the official mines.
Yeah, and these are the mines that even in the Congo, the areas of the Congo where M23 is not an issue, they use child labor and which makes it impossible for anyone to compete with the prices there.
That's always been the problem of the West, though. We don't accept child labor. Things produced by child labor as being legal.
Well, that's a touchy thing because we have to support child labor in the developing countries because child labor is one of the things that supports the families they have there.
Yeah,
I know. International agencies that go in there will tell you that their biggest concern, though, is those children are treated fairly when they do work and work in safer conditions, and that they can get some sort of education to boot. But in struggling developing countries, child labor, just like it was in Britain back in early parts of the Industrial Revolution, children all the time.
Oh, I know. But that's one of the reasons why, of course, we don't approve of child labor, because we've learned our lesson from our own past.
Well, we came to the point where we were prosperous enough that we didn't have to have them. That's not the case now in the developing world. But aside from that, the forced labor that is used is very analogous to the forced labor that was used for the blood diamonds that were overwhelming the market there for a while. The blood diamonds from Africa, all different places of Africa, were using slave labor nearly.
Yeah.
If you ever watch the movie Blood Diamonds, it's kind of gives you an idea when you see their mining operations in the rivers of I forget the country that was there at that time, but and the diamond trade looking the other way when they absorb these diamonds. But in this particular case, it is a real humiliation to the EU, if you ask me, that they're buying nearly $1 trillion worth of rare earth minerals from Rwanda, have made deals with them, full well knowing that those minerals do not come from Rwanda.
Yeah.
From Congo. What's that all about?
Yeah, and that's bad trade in and of itself. All right.
So the Congo is saying, look, don't do that anymore. Look, come in here, develop our minerals, offer us some kind of security, help us with our security, and we'll give you a really good deal and bring your development with you.
Yeah.
And they're jumping on the bandwagon when they heard the deals being offered to Ukraine. They want a similar kind of a thing.
Yeah. It makes sense for the Congolese.
It might. The fact that the Europeans, particularly, and the Americans also are buying these minerals full well knowing that they were extracted at force by a rebel/terrorist group called the M23, who used terror methods to secure property and secure time. Like they are a bad bunch.
Yeah.
I've been watching them or like on and off for a few years. They are a bad bunch of dudes, man. They're
Yeah.
vicious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know. All right. Moving on. US Niagara wants to put out the welcome mat for US visitors.
I hope so. I hope so.
There's no reason why. Just because we don't like what Trump is doing doesn't mean to say we don't like Americans.
No, I
Hell,
love Americans.
we've got American friends on this show.
I love Americans. I love Americans. They're really ignorant, even more ignorant than we are, but they are lovely people. Almost every American I've ever met was a nice person. So, look, what we don't want to do is let politics get in the way of what people do.
No,
And I'm really against people not going to the U.S. for holidays either, because what you're doing, if you got friends and relatives down there, or you're happy with your accommodations or whatever in the United States, do not let Donald McDonald there mess you up. Don't do that.
Well, the worry, I think the big problem right now with Canadians is affordability of going to the US. With our dollar being so low, it makes times tough. It doesn't mean to say you won't cross the border. It just means to say it's more expensive.
Yeah, well, what does John Ringelbeam call Trump? He calls him the Diaper Don. So, in reference to John Gotti, who was the Dapper Don. So he calls him the Diaper Don. Don't let the Diaper Don bug you. Don't let him get under your skin. Remember, the American people are just people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let that guy shake you up. Keep it relevant.
And the last time I went to the US, which was more than a few months ago, people are great.
Yeah, I got friends down there. I fully intend to go down there anytime I damn well please. I've never had a major holiday down there, but I go down and stay with friends and things like that.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone down there for kind of a holiday like I would, or like I've gone to other places like it was in Portugal in August. That was different. But one day I hope to drive all over the United States and Canada from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And
well, you better get started.
Yeah. Well, yeah, really. Time is ticking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see, Dave, actually, that's a good thing. I'd say that, most of the time I've been to the US, except when I'm crossing the border here locally, right? Cross the border here locally probably once a month. I don't count that as going to the US per se. Most of the time I've been to the US, I've gone across, for work. When I've stayed in the US for multiple days, it's been because of work.
Look, I go over there to watch lacrosse games all the time.
Yeah.
I love watching the Bandits. Buffalo has one of the greatest followings of lacrosse followings of any city.
Well, and actually, you see exactly. So you go across, you watch the game, you come back.
Yeah, may stay in a restaurant or something like that.
Exactly.
Have a couple of beers.
Yeah.
So don't let this guy get you all rattled. American people are still American people, and they're just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, we're going to have, I'd be happy to have more American visitors. They're the mainstay of Niagara Falls tourism. That's for sure.
Well, actually, it was an interesting statistic there that the Americans make up 25% of our international visitors, but spend 50% of the money spent here. So even though they only make up one of four, they make up for it in a big way by spending more money than the average visitor.
Other visitor, yeah. And actually, that doesn't surprise me because, because Americans have got to have, have got a good reputation of spending when they go abroad.
When I worked in down at Clifton Hill as a teenager, we loved it when Americans came in because they were the most generous tippers. They were.
Yeah.
They could have been loud. A lot of times they're very loud people, but they were generous tippers.
Well, Randy is basically saying most Americans are not even aware or thinking about Trump's. Their concerns are the same as ours, that they want jobs back. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. They want the security of their jobs.
Yeah.
And if I'll take a phrase out of Dinesh D'Souza. You know him. He's a very he's a conservative pundit and an influencer in the United States. And using his own words, he says the problem with Americans is their ignorance, and that what he sees to be a problem for Americans. He himself is an American. That the American public is extraordinarily ignorant beyond their own borders, sometimes even beyond their own county. Yeah. So Americans are very inwardly looking, and that seems to be a problem. When you go out and travel like I did, and you go around places like in Southeast Asia, and that you'll find a lot of travelers from all over the world, but less representation among the Americans, even the young. And to the point where when I was in Vieng Vang in Laos, there was Irish guys, Australians, Portuguese, from all over, all these young people all over, and an American girl shows up, and I was said, oh wow, and she was a little bit surprised. I thought, well, finally I meet up with an American, because almost all of them are from anywhere else but the United States. So I thought that was encouraging, where I saw more Americans traveling, and that opens their eyes, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So we're actually out of time right now.
Yes, and
I have to go to court.
A final congratulations to Wayne Gates, who overwhelmingly won. Congratulations to Doug Ford for his political maneuvering. He's going to be our premier for the next 4 years and 4 months. Wayne Gates is going to be our representative for the next 4 years and 4 months, presumably. And well, Doug Ford got his mandate, and he did it in a huge fashion. So congratulations to him. And sadly, another nod for Wayne Campbell, who is an icon here, has passed.
And I'm glad to see that the vote went up.
Yeah, it did go up marginally.
Yeah.
But again, we thought that the percentage of people coming out and vote was due more to the very weak opposition parties at this particular time.
Yeah. All right.
Nothing much to choose from.
Yeah. And have a great day, everybody. Great weekend. And we'll speak again Monday. Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.